Sahana vavatu Sahana bhunaktu Sahaviryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Lord protect us. May He nourish us. May we acquire the capacity to study and understand the scriptures. May our study be brilliant, and may we not cavil at each other. Om, peace, peace, peace unto us all. Dear brothers and sisters, loving Sairam to all of you. We welcome all of you for the online satsang of the Sri Sathya Sai Baba Center of Arcadia. We are continuing the study circle on Sutra Vahini, the commentary on the Brahma Sutras given by our Lord Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. These are one of the three texts we talked about, Upanishad, and then Brahma Sutras and Bhagavad Gita. These are the scriptural guides for a spiritual seeker to reach the goal. So we finished 3 sutras. So this is all continuum. Please go back and refer to them. We are going to go to the PDF you have received. It is on the page 26. In some books, in my book it is 34. In some books it is 45. So the PDF is 26. But whatever book you have, it is the 4th sutra we are going to start today. So I will try to summarize just for the sake of continuity. So the important is, it is not partitioned, it is not watertight compartment, this is all continuous things. So first thing we need to remember, the first sutra is Atato Brahma Jijnasa. So we all need to have preliminary qualification to get this Brahma Vidya. Anybody cannot do like anything else, qualifying exam, you need to have qualification. At least we need to remember, we need to have Viveka, discrimination, Vairagya, detachment, Shat Sampati, those 6 qualities we talked about. 4th is Mumuksha, intense longing or intense hunger for truth or God. That is the first Brahma Sutra we said. That means you need these qualifications if you want to have this knowledge of Brahman. So Brahma Vidya and Atma Vidya is same. Second sutra we talked about Janmadascha. That means the whole universe, everything, whatever you see, hear, experience, feel, everything has only one source, that is Brahman. That is the ultimate consciousness. So that is the ultimate truth, whether you call God, Brahman, Atma, which is the eternal existence. So Sat, that is what the whole universe, whole Brahman, they came from Brahman. So we need to, the source is Brahman, and it is sustained in Brahman, it dissolves in Brahman. So that is the second thing which we talked about, quoting the scriptures. And the third, which finished just last week, is Shastra Yonitvat. Yoni means the source, like the womb. So the whole scriptures, they came from Brahman. And they point to Brahman, because they came from Brahman. They will say to attain Brahman, because they came from Brahman, God himself, they show how to attain Brahman. So that is what we talked about. And the last week we concluded two things. How do you attain Brahman? Only by the constant contemplation of God. And we give the example of Prahlada, who always used to think about God. So that is, we talked about the example, constant contemplation. Second thing, we talked about the story of Bhrigu. So how his teacher, who is his father, Varuna, so he wanted to teach him this highest knowledge. He is so powerful, he can give him by his touch the knowledge of Brahman. A lot of these teachers like Ramakrishna Paramsa, first time when Swami Vivekananda went to him, just by his touch, he made him feel that everything is Brahman. They have that power. The avatars can make you experience the Brahman, but they want you to work for it like anything else. So here, this son or this guru, he wanted to know from the guru how to have this knowledge of Brahman. Then the father, the Varuna, told Bhrigu, hey, go and do tapas. Because everything you need to have austerity. So go and pass the exam, you do, go and study. Right? Without studies, oh, I want to pass. Yeah, go and study. So he did a lot of austerities, penance. Then he said, yes, I found Brahman is this body. This. No, you are wrong. Then he go to the next stage. Go back. Then he found Brahman is our life force, prana. He says, no, that's not true. Then go back. Then he says, no, I realized the Brahman is mind. Because always we live in the mind. So that is a cause for our pain, suffering, or joy, and bliss, everything. Mind. Because mind is nothing but. So I think mind is the one, everything, Brahman. He says, no, go back. Then he found higher than the mind is the intellect. Intellect is the one, because that is the one who gives us the discrimination. First is, we talked about individual discrimination, fundamental. Then he says, no, that is also not true. Go back. So it goes on, going on, doing studies more, do more and more tapas, more and more penance and austerities. Finally, he realizes the ultimate sheath is sheath of bliss. And he touches that. So you need to just don't get stuck. That's why in spirituality, sometimes you get stuck in one stages. So we all do that. So some people get stuck in only worshipping picture and idols. That is why scriptures say first is Agama Pratima Puja. Just the rituals, that's all they do. Worship, do the oblation, do these mantras. That is good to start like that. It's very good. Always continue, even great teachers do that. But next you should go to Madhyamam Japastotradikam. Next you should try to do japa and sing the glory of God, bhajans, what we do. But that is also up to a stage. We get Bhajanananda. But next stage is Uttamam Manasik Puja. You need to worship the mind. Because what the God exists outside, he also exists in me. The same God, what is outside, is in me. That is, you need to experience that. When you go on do that, then ultimate Soham Puja Uttamottamam. Then you realize you are not whom you are searching for. You are already that. You are that Brahman. So you are realized that Brahman. So that is the stage you need to do. So this young man who is Bhrigu, he realized that ultimately, then he didn't even go back to his father. Then his father told this guy reached the goal. So he goes back, yes, that is the truth. Brahman is bliss. So that is what we talked about. So we all need to have preliminary qualifications from Brahma Vidya and do the tapas, do the spiritual practices. All these things we need to do. Then we talked about one of the best mechanisms for this is pranava, chanting Om. Omkara is the most powerful because actually Om and Brahman is not different. It's what said Om, Brahman and Atma. So whenever we chant Om, there is lots of things. There is so many books written about that. In Upanishads, at least 7-8 Upanishads mention about the power of Om. That is the Kathopanishad and the Mandukya, Mundaka, Chandukya, and all these Gohadar and all these Upanishads talked about the power of Omkar. And all the summary of Upanishads is Gita. Lord Krishna, God himself said, what did he say? Om Ityekaksharam Brahma. Just this letter Om itself represents the Brahman, attributeless, formless reality. Just the Om. And even Patanjali in his Yoga Sutra said, Asya Vachak Pranava. Just this particular Pranava. So Om is also called, people don't confuse Om. Sometimes they call Pranava, sometimes Triakshari, because there are three letters in it, A, U, Ma, and sometimes also called Tara. That means it takes us across the ocean of samsara, Tarak Mantra, Tara. So it's a lot of places in Rudram, in Ganapati, other shape, they make Tara. Tara means Om Tara. So this Pranava is very, very important. Swami gave a lot of importance. And that is why the whole session in Prashanthi Nilayam, on any Sai session, whenever you have in the morning, before the Supravatam, we chant Omkar. Not once or twice, 21 times. And said last time, we chant 21 times. The significance is 20 things you clean up. 5 Karmendriyas, organs of perception, 5 organs of action, 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 organs of perception. I told last time, I don't want to repeat again. And 5 pranas, Panchaprana, Prana, Pana, Vyana, Upadana, 5 life forces, and 5 koshas. Just now we talked about body, life force, and mind, intellect, these 5 sheaths. So it cleans up 5 organs of perception, organs of action, and 5 life forces, 5 sheaths, just by chanting. And finally, the 21st one is what? That is the Atma. Once you clean up everything, naturally your Atma comes in effulgence. That is why we chant 21 times. And this Om consists of 3 things, A, U, Ma, and then there is a silence after that. Silence is very important because A, U, Ma represents wakeful stage, dream stage, deep sleep stage. Every one of us go through that, right? We are wakeful, then go to sleep, then you get dreams, then deep sleep, where there is no sleep, there is a real restful stage. And finally, Turiya, beyond all these 3. That is the ultimate, that is the represents Brahman. So this is the, so Avuma represents these 3 states. And also it represents 3 lokas, Bhur, Bhuva, Swa, this earth, the heaven, and the netherland, another lands. Not the netherlands, it is there. There is a loka, which is called Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Suvarloka. And also it represents Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, and 3 Vedas. So that is the power of Om. That is why. But somebody the other day was telling one devotee, oh, there is too much complication. Just I said it is a direct phone call to God. Chant Om is person to person call to God. They like that. Oh, that is, I like that. Just when you think Om, think you are talking directly calling God. Because that is the source of everything. The whole universe originated from Om. Actually, Anupama was telling in the nature, they showed one time that the whole universe they showed, the galaxy, everything came from that sound. The scientists recognized that. So that is the power of Om. So, and even Lord Krishna assured the people who chant Om at the time they leave their body, the last breath, they chant Om, they will be one with God. They won't have any more cycle of birth and death. He assured that. So that is, we need to remember there is the power of Om and power of the significance of the uppers and constant thought of God. Now we'll go to the 4th aphorism, that all Vedantics posit only Brahman, that is Tat tu Samanvaya. Tat tu Samanvaya. Please go ahead and start. So as I said, page 26 in the PDF. Here it is page 34 some places, 46 some places.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. Sairam, brothers and sisters, chapter 4. All Vedantic axioms posit only Brahman, Tattu Samanvayat. It is clearly demonstrable that all Vedantic axioms posit only Brahman. The statements in the sacred scriptures, Shrutis, when studied in a spirit of reconciliation, reveal the Brahman and make known its reality. There is the question whether the scriptures hold forth the supremacy of works, karma, or of wisdom. Though the profound mystery of Brahman is incommunicable to others, it has to be denoted by some categories of knowledge, however unsatisfactory they are, or else it might remain beyond perception. Next section. Scriptures are not only world-oriented. One school of thought believes that the Vedas lay down works as a means of liberation and that the Vedanta, the Upanishads, does not. But the scripture Shastras are concerned with guidance and counsel, and not with exclusive adherence to some system or the other. Advocacy of works is not the chief goal of the scriptures. When one is active through works, one has to do many merit-yielding tasks, and these promote purity of mind. Since work cleanses the consciousness, many argue that the scriptures teach this as the sole path, ignoring the fact that work is only a means to the end. In this connection, we have to pay attention to another fact. One's desires, one's wants, longings, resolutions, and wishes are multiplied and prompted by works, karma. And the initial impulse for desire is unawareness of the reality, ajnana. The doubt arises naturally how the consciousness that is unaware can transform itself into the consciousness that is aware, jnana. Darkness can never remove darkness, can it? So too, ignorance, ajnana, can never destroy ignorance. It can be accomplished only by spiritual wisdom, jnana, awareness of the truth. This is the dictum promulgated by Sankara. The world needs harmony very much. It also needs awareness to an equal extent. How very difficult it may be to convey the knowledge of Brahman to others. It has been said that there is a vast difference between the impact of knowledge of Brahman, Brahma Vidya, and the impact of works, karma. Merit and demerit, happiness and misery are the consequences of activity. The happiness attainable through work ranges from the region of humans, Manushya Loka, up to the highest stage of the region of the divine, Brahma Loka. So too, below the level of human region, there are regions where misery becomes deeper and deeper, more and more agonizing. They are relatively unreal and not absolutely real. If you read the second one.
Yeah.
Awareness, not attachment to works, is the key. Therefore, awareness and bliss is innate, existing in its own right. It is eternally present. It is the one unchanging, unaffected truth. It cannot be acquired by practicing prescriptions and exercises. The state of liberation, moksha, transcends the body-mind-ego complex. Therefore, the transcendence is beyond one's physical, mental, or intellectual effort. When awareness dawns, the darkness of ignorance, ajnana, disappears. When the lamp is lit, darkness is no more. Some argue that it is not quite fair to declare that knowledge of Brahman as the only truth cannot be gained by personal effort. Sankara reconciles this point of view with his main thesis mentioned already. The spiritual wisdom, jnana, that one is actually Brahman and nothing else, is latent in the consciousness of everyone. But one cannot recognize it and establish oneself firmly in it by means of activity, karma, or even by scholastic inquiry, vichara. Activity can only bind one further, for it deals with diversity as if it is real. It cannot loosen bonds and liberate. It can at best purify the passions and emotions. Inquiry can at best clarify the intellect and indicate the criteria of spiritual wisdom. Only knowledge of Brahman, Brahma Vidya, can liberate people from bondage. Hence, one is warned not to develop too much attachment to activity. Can you stop here?
Yeah, please.
So there are two sections where Swami summarizes some of the main theses, some of the main points of the Upanishads, which is one of the three major scriptures that we mentioned before. One of the main points he's making here is that we should not get too much attached to work. And why is this? Because work produces reaction, and the reactions are the consequences that bind us. But Swami also said that work is important. Why? Because work removes impurities from us, and the pure mind is needed where Brahman can be reflected. Since we are already God, our characteristics are the characteristics of Brahman, which is Sat, Chit, Anand, three things. So out of this, Chit, awareness, is the key. And to get this awareness, we have to do work which is not attached. This is the main thesis, as I say this here. Swami is saying that we are Gyanis, but we don't know it. So because we are covered by all these impurities, and once these impurities are gone, then we can achieve the jnana, and then the darkness is no more. In fact, in the Lord's Prayer, Swami says, "Take my hands and let it work incessantly for thee." And he ends by saying, "Take my everything and let me be an instrument to work." If you reflect upon this, I think you'll realize that an instrument cannot get attached to work. Like if you're doing something, let's say you're a surgeon, you're doing an operation with scissors, the scissors are not getting any attention, they're doing the work. If we are writing something with a pen is an instrument, it does not get credits. Similarly, all this credit should go to God, who is the ultimate doer. He is the one who gives us the opportunity, he is the one who does the work, he is the one who receives the work. So Swami is warning us that don't get attached to work as the means to the end. Some people think that all we need to do is work, work, work. But the work is good, but it is not the end. Once we realize this, then the awareness dawns on us. And finally, Brahmavida Brahmaiva Bhavati, which means that the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman himself or herself. So we lose all the other impurities and acquire spiritual wisdom. So these are some of the major theories here. It's very hard to grasp, but this is basically the basis of the Shastras.
Yes, Sairam. So this is where it's clearly said, Tattu Samanvaya. That means all this Vedanta. Vedanta means what people think that is what is the biggest Veda. Very simple. Veda, Anta. The end of Vedas. What is there at the end of Vedas is Upanishads. So what do the Upanishads point out? They point out to Brahman, Brahma Vidya, that's all. So all these major Brahma, we call this Mahavakyas, that means great declarations, the four major ones. Everybody should know, Swami repeated it many times. That is, first is Tattvamasi, that thou art, that's all, you are that. Actually, one great recent saintly man of Nisargadatta Maharaj, he never even went to college or anything, but he was the source of our knowledge. His guru told him, you are that. There is a book actually, that. So just he had conviction, you are that. That is why, but it is not easy. We will go on listening, I am that, you don't realize. That is why the guru tells in the Chandogya Upanishad, tells this boy, the disciple, Tattvamasi, thou art 9 times. That means, if one time you won't listen, that is why sometimes people say, why are you repeating the same thing? Swami also repeats and repeats, because you go on listening, then only it sinks into you. So first is Tattvamasi, that thou art. What is that? Prajnanam Brahma. That is, awareness itself is Brahman. Everything is Brahman. You are that. So once you do that, then next one is third one. What is that? I am Atma Brahma. I am Atman and Brahman. You realize that. Finally, you realize the fourth Mahavakya is Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. So there is no difference between me and Brahman. First you believe that you are that, You go on practicing like he said Varuna told his son Bhrigu that go on doing tapas, then you go on removing your ignorance, then you realize that you are the Atma and Brahman, and finally you realize you are Brahman. That is the ultimate goal. It may look very difficult, but there is no other way. Actually, scriptures say, Jnana devatu kaivalya. Only by jnana, like Shankara used to emphasize, you will get the ultimate goal. Jnana devatu. And Lord Krishna in Gita says, Jnani atmaivamevatam. 4 types of devotees, he says. Artho, that means people who pray to him and they have suffering. Arthati, who want something, benefit and wealth, health, or prosperity, power. They are also devotees. They pray to God. And Jijnasu, the one who is seeker of knowledge. But the greatest is Jnani. So the 4 are devotees, but there is no difference, Lord Krishna says, between me and the Jnani. So that is important. And here, even Swami told the Advaita Darshana Jnanam. What is Jnanam? Is nothing but seeing only oneness. And that says actually in this Avadhuta Gita, Ishwaranugraha hete Humsa Advaita Vasana. Only by grace of God, people get interest in the Advaita, to know that there is only one thing. Otherwise, you stuck because in Vedas they describe everything. Karma Kanda, that is ritualistic worship, which is good in the beginning. As I said, the beginning where it is. Like you go to school, you do the writing, the thing, so you can't be there in the elementary school all the time. Then you go to high school, then you go to college, then you do doctoral studies, then you go to research. Same thing is, that is why Vedas prescribe all the things. Karma Kanda, where you do the yajnas, yagas, or things like people, like Rama was born because he did a yajna to give a child. So this is all, even now people do the Rudra yajna, Chandi yajna, for the health, prosperity, they get the results. But that is only beginning. You can't go on getting that. Then what happens is, here as Swami said, you will get merit and demerit. You will get merit for doing good thing, and then you may go to heaven or good lokas. Then again you have to come back. So you do bad things. So it is good to do good deeds, but don't karma kanda, don't get stuck. Then you need to go upasana, think love for God. That is a great quality. And then finally you come to jnana, seeing that only there is oneness. Actually, Swami, I asked one time, I said, Swami, it is very difficult, this Advaita self-inquiry, to know. Swami says that is the only truth. That is the only truth. He says that there is nothing else. And he said everything else is a dream. Then this is all the daydream one we live in, and what you go in the night is everything is a dream. But we need to wake up from the dream to realize the ultimate truth. But I said, Swami, we have been so long, so many lifetimes, we are thinking I'm this body, mind, intellect. It is very difficult. Swami here also talks about, give example, a cave is dark for 1,000 years. You go and light it, put a candle. How long does it take the darkness to go away? Instantly it goes away. Similarly, that once the knowledge, jnana comes, it doesn't need to wait for a right away, like Ramana Maharshi, he was going suddenly, just got enlightened. So just in the right time, you never know when the right time is. If you have that hunger to know the knowledge, and you have the desire, and you have proper qualifications, this knowledge of Brahman comes. That is why even Lord Krishna says in Gita, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, these Vedas talk in the realm of 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Nistraigunyo bhava Arjuna. Arjuna, you should go beyond the 3 gunas. Otherwise, we'll go on getting this cycle of birth and death, even though doing good things. So Swami himself said, don't stop all the good deeds. You need to do ritual worship, you do Pratima worship, go to temple, go to sing hymns. But don't get stuck. Remember the ultimate goal, this is a means. How does help selfless service, singing praises? It cleanses our heart. Actually, Lord Krishna says in 18th chapter, Yajna, Dana, Tapah, Pavanani cha Purusha. That means, Yajna means what we do, selfless service, all the work. Yajna is not only doing this Rudra Yajna, Chandi Yajna, that Homa, this one, they're all good. But doing selfless service also is considered a yajna. Japa is considered a yajna. That one, and dana, giving charities, whether your time, energy, food, shelter, everything. Dana, tapaha, austerities, you do meditation, scriptural study, all these are good, but they make you pure, they make you holy. That's all they do. But to reach the goal, to ultimate realization, you should be this Brahma Vidya alone. That's what Swami says very clearly, categorically says, Brahman alone, knowledge of Brahman alone can liberate you. Only that. So there is no way you can get liberation. So that we should have clarity. That is the only path to go to liberation. That's very important. But at the same time, some people who are Advaitins, they have defective one thing. They say karma mein gir gaya. That means people who do, they are lost in doing karma. They think look down on people do. That is also wrong. And people who are doing selfless service, they think, oh, these guys jnanis, they think they don't do any work. Both, there's a blend of both, all the three. That is why Swami is beautiful. Our centers, Sai centers are example. We have all the three. So we do the singing, bhajan and all that. That is bhakti yoga. Just the singing of the glories. You think about him, his leelas, his name, his form. Then you go and do selfless service. You provide the food, or you provide the shelter, water, health care, and disaster relief, anything that is service, karma yoga. And finally, jnana yoga, this is what we are telling, which is reading the scriptures, your self-inquiry. So you need to have the integration, this is called integral yoga, combine all the three. That is what our Lord's Prayer we chant every and oh Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for thee. That is karma yoga, just our hands we want to help. Then, Lord, we want my soul to be merged in one with thee. That is Brahma Vidya, that is Jnana Yoga. And take my love and let it flow in the fullness of devotion to thee. What is that? Bhakti Yoga, just love. So love, first start with love, then hands Karma Yoga, soul Jnana Yoga. And let my mind and thoughts be in tune with thee. That is Raj Yoga, because mind goes here, there, gems. So being to just always focus on you. And finally, let me be an instrument to work, but it's not for thee. That means you don't exist. Everything is, take everything. That means only surrender completely. What all exists is God alone, nothing else exists. So that is why we, in the prayer also Swami gave, we are all blessed. We don't, like people chant, Lord, thou art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. There is prayer given by Jesus, and all the Christian people all over the world chant. And we don't know whether he wrote, but here, this Lord's Prayer we chant, not only given by Swami, written in Swami's own handwriting. Take my love. So how important, since he gave the power, we need to always think about daily chant that prayer, because that is the integration of all the yogas, and that will take us to the goal. So that is why there is nothing wrong in doing work, but don't be attached. There is a whole secret of whole Bhagavad Gita. What does it teach Krishna? Nishkama Karma Yoga. Action with detachment. So the whole thing is, hey, go and fight, because he's worried, oh, my uncles will die, my grandparents will die, my teachers will die, my cousins. Just kill them, but you don't be attached. That is why whenever you kill somebody, what happens? You create a sin. But Lord Krishna says, Hatva pisa imam lokan na hanti na nibhadyati. You may kill everybody here, the whole lokan, he says, even outside, but you are not equal to killing anything, you are not bound. Because nimitta matram bhava, you just happen to be instrument. I already killed them. He shows in his cosmic form, everybody is already killed. Everybody is killed, even he says, even before he killed, already they are killed. But means we happen to be just really happen to be there. So he's telling, don't be really attached. Hey, I am doing this, results are mine. That is what it is. So let us think we are going to all be Brahma with Brahmaiva Bhavati, will realize that at least hopefully in this lifetime, if you have intense hunger for it.